Hey guys, it's me, Cardi B, and it is episode 13. And I just wanted to do my top reads for um, this year, obviously, for like the first half of this year. Right now, it's like midway through July, so this video is like long overdue, but that's life, so whatever. So from January to June of this year, 2023, I read 46 books. 24 of those books were five-star reads, so that's a little over 50% of my reads. I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty generous, what? I can't say it. Generous? No. Why does that sound funny? Generous, generous, generous. That sounds better. With my ratings, usually if I don't like a book, chances are I'm not gonna finish the book. Like I feel like I know pretty early on whether or not the book is going to be something I like. So I DNF a book fast. I don't have time. Life is short, and I'm not gonna stick around for a crappy book. So whatever. Anyway, so um, yeah. So I obviously have read quite a few books just at the beginning of this year. Um, January's top reads included um, The Children of Blood and Bone, and the sequel, Children of Virtue and Vengeance, Beasts of Prey, Tribe, Lore. Um, there's this like meditation book that I read called Quick Calm. Tokyo Dreaming, which is the Tokyo Ever After sequel. Death in D Minor, which is the Gethsemane Brown mystery series by Alexia Gordon. That's the second book. I read the first book obviously like at the end of last year. February, I read the Gethsemane Brown series some more. The third, fourth, and the fifth book, those were all five-star reads for me. And then Everyday Ubuntu, that was kind of like a self-help ish, self improvement type book. March, the only five-star read that I had was the Vera Wong's Unsolicited Guide or Unsolicited Advice for Murder or for Murderers, excuse me. And then April, the Kindred, Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi on the Coates. I know I butchered his name, so forgive me. Mexico Margeritas and Murders by Wendy Day. It was like a cozy mystery. I recently read the second book of that series. It's like the Sally and Pearl senior sleuthing series or something. Um, was not impressed by the second book. So, anyway, in May, I read more of the mystery bookshop series by Valerie. Well, V.M. Burns is the um, author name that she uses, but she also goes by Valerie Burns. And then she has a new cozy mystery series coming out, and her pen name is going to be Kaylee E. Benjamin, I believe. Anyway, so I read books 2 and 3 in May, and those are five-star reads. Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I read that. That was great. Um, Witchlings sequel came out in May, so I read that. The Golden Frog Games. Loved it. I also read the novella that Claribel A. Ortega wrote for the Witchling series, and it was The Warmest Winter. So it was like a little itty bitty novella, but it was really good. That was a five-star read for me. I also read Drama Free. It was also like another self help book. And then for June, Nooks and Crannies. That was a middle grade novel that I read by Jessica Lawson, I believe. Loved it. Also, the fourth installment of the Mystery Bookshop series by V.M. Burns. That was great. For me, I would definitely say that the standouts for at least the first half of this year were the Gethsemane Brown series by Alexia Gordon. Loved them. Like literally every last one of those books was a five-star read for me. So I would definitely, if cozy mysteries are something that you're into, If you are thinking about getting into cozy mysteries, I would definitely read that series because, like I said, every single book was a 5-star read. They're all available on audiobooks. So if that is something that you're into, if you'd rather, listen to an audiobook and not like actually read a hardcover, the whole entire series is on there. I don't think she's making any more of them, but that's sad, but I mean, obviously that's okay. The Mystery Bookshop series is honestly like another one of my faves. It's obviously a cozy mystery, so if you're into that, that's great. Um, I've loved every single one. I did realize though when I was looking at Storygraph, I rated the first book as a 4.5 star. Honestly, I don't know why I did that. I feel like that was definitely a 5-star read. So something tells me that maybe I would, I'm very much a mood reader. So I feel like maybe when I was like, you know, finished with the book or when I was finishing the book, maybe when I wrote the review, I was just like in one of those moods. So like it, it's kind of like whatever. It was okay, but like I've enjoyed every single book, so I'm not even entirely sure why I would rate it a 4.5. So that's weird, but whatever. Um, Obviously, you guys have heard me talk about Claribel A. Ortega and her works, so I love the Golden Frog games. Um, it was literally like the perfect sequel. It to the Witchlings. It does it does end on a little bit of a cliffhanger. So I wasn't happy about that. However, that means there's a third book, and so I'm here for that. I definitely want to see where this series goes, so I'm excited for the third book. I don't know when it's coming out, um, but I'm super excited for it. And like I said, the second book, it was a great book. I mean, literally the only argument that I have, or I shouldn't even say argument, the only thing I didn't like about it was because it ended on a cliffhanger. However, it makes sense in the story that it ended on a cliffhanger, like, so whatever. Obviously, I know I've done a post on Jessie Q Sutanto and how much I love her with the Dial A for Auntie series that she's done, and then Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murder was also just so. It was funny. It was so cute. Um, and I did find out that there is going to be a third book in the Dial A for Auntie series by Jessie Q Sutanto. So I am super excited for that. And then I heard that if Vera Wong does really good, like the book with the sales and everything, that she is open to doing a sequel. And I know this because she told me, not personally, but I did ask a question like to her, or ask a question of her, to her, for her, whatever. I asked on Goodreads, like on her profile, and she actually responded to me. So like after I fangirled for a moment, she was like, "Yeah, you know what? We're gonna see how Vera Wong does, and if the numbers are right, then I definitely would love to do a sequel." So I'm super super excited. I've been creeping on her Instagram and kind of like watching out for like updates and everything about that. So Tribe is another standout for me for the first half of this year. It is it's a nonfiction book. I don't want to say that it's not really a self-help book, but it's also not um, it's not like a memoir or anything along the lines. It's kind of hard to describe. So like let me pull up a synopsis real quick. Okay, so the full title of Tribe is Tribe on Homecoming and Belonging by Sebastian Junger. So it says there are ancient tribal human behaviors, loyalty, interreliance, cooperation that flare up in communities during times of turmoil and suffering. These are the very same behaviors that typify, typify, I don't know how to say that, good soldiering and foster a sense of belonging among troops. whether they're fighting on the front lines or engaged in non-combat activities away from action. Drawing from history, psychology, and anthropology, best-selling author Sebastian Junger shows us just how at odds the structure of modern society is with our tribal instincts, arguing that the difficulties many veterans face upon returning home from war do not stem entirely from the trauma they've suffered, but also from the individualistic societies they must reintegrate into. So, after my husband was deployed to Afghanistan, when he came home, he had read this book and, he really resonated with what they were saying and what the author was saying in this book. And so he encouraged me to read it as well. I will admit I did not want to read it at first. It just, I'm a psych major, so I've, read obviously about like PTSD and, various other mental health issues, disorders, illnesses, whatever you want to call them. Obviously, I've read about them. Um, Reading a textbook, reading case studies is a lot different when it comes to knowing someone and hearing their firsthand experiences. So, it was a little hard for me to read. I did read the book. I actually listened to the audiobook and the author actually narrated it. So that was pretty cool. But it is definitely interesting. Obviously, from the synopsis, it talks about our tribal instincts and how they differ from American society. So it's very true. There's like this one passage in the book when it was talking about back when we were, I don't want to, primitive, I don't know, that seems like a really harsh word, but long ago, when you had a baby, houses were smaller. Your, living quarters were smaller. So you would all be in one room together. So, it was normal for parents to co sleep with their children. Now, if you've had a kid recently, you've heard co-sleeping is bad. You can roll over on your kid, suffocate them, kill them. You hear all of these things, so parents are terrified to co-sleep. So what do? They put their baby either in like a bassinet or whatever in the same room, or they put them in another room all together. Well, if you've ever had a kid, when you have a kid in another room, one, the parent is paranoid. Like, oh my God, what if they stop breathing and I don't hear them? Or, what if someone takes them? Like, all these scenarios run through your mind as a new parent. And then obviously, this little infant who's only ever known, like, being inside their mother's womb is now in a room that's cold compared to obviously the mother's womb. There's no one around, because we make sure the kid sleeps with like no blankets, no toys, no, mobiles, like, like they're basically like secluded. um and just how, like kids, it's really hard to sleep train a kid because you're going against nature, you're going against everything inside you. And it's very much, I mean, I've never served in the military, so I can't speak about how all service members feel or how some of them feel, but it's very much, I know it was, difficult for my husband. Like, every day he spent with his guys in his unit, every single day in, day out. They all, were in combat together, or, they were all in non-combat, situations together. Like, and then they go home and they're from all over the place. So, he's got friends in different states, different cities, all scattered. And I am his wife. He loves me, but I wasn't with him overseas. I don't know what that's like. I can't talk to him about that the same way that his buddies can talk to him about it, So it's a very interesting read. I think everyone should read it, even if you're not military connected, just because it is a very interesting look on, like, psychology and anthropology and philosophy. It's very interesting, and it also makes you realize that we are actually all in this together. And maybe if we rely on each other just a little bit more, maybe if we have a little bit more compassion towards each other, maybe if we stop looking at everything in an individualistic way and more of a collective manner, maybe a lot of the issues that our society faces can at the very least be minimized. So it's definitely a very good read. I would encourage everyone to read it. Another book that I read was Everyday Ubuntu. It's living better together the African way. So the entire premise of that book, Ubuntu is a Xhosa word. I think that's how you say it. I could be butchering that. It's Xhosa. Xhosa, I think that's how you say it. Anyway, so it's a South African philosophy, and it basically says that we're all connected. We're not in this world together. There's no concept of someone being like self-made, because in a sense we are not self-made. Like, each person that we interact with helps us get to the next level. So you did not become a writer because you just woke up one day and you were like, oh, I'm going to be a writer. It was, your kindergarten teacher who taught you how to read. And then it was your sixth grade teacher who, you know, introduced you to Anne of Green Gables, and then all of a sudden you fell in love with Anne. You fell in love with the story building. And then it was your, 12th grade English teacher that was like, hey, I need you guys to all write a short story, blah, 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 blah. So it's like these little building blocks from other people in society, whether or not they were necessarily like pushing you to be a writer, they gave you the tools that eventually led to you becoming a writer. So it's basically like we just, yes, not every person we come in contact with might be positive, but then even that negative interaction teaches you something, whether it be like, oh, well, when I'm an old lady, I'm not going to hit kids on, their knuckles with canes because I didn't like when the old lady in my neighborhood did that to me. That's something. That's teaching you something. So I really enjoyed that too. And that book is by Mungi. Mm, I'm just gonna stop because I'm already butchering it. So I'll write it down below. But and then also Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi. Ta-Nehisi. I don't know why I mess up this man's name. Mr. Coates, that way. It's that one's kind of like a memoir esque type book. I mean, it's like letters that he wrote to his son, and it reflects on like race and kind of just lessons he learned throughout his life and what he wants his son to glean from those experiences. So that was really good. Um, the Kindred. Oh my god. So I don't even know how I found out about this book. I think I was just like, how you get like a gift card to Amazon and you're like, I'm just gonna spend some money, whatever. So I found that book. Like, it was like, oh, like maybe you like this, blah blah blah. It's like a sci-fi, fantasy, young adult, romance, rom-com situation, and I think it was like $1.99, $2 or something. So I was like, worst case scenario, I buy it, I read it, I don't like it, whatever, not a big deal. Oh my god, you guys, this book is so cute. So basically, the main characters is Joy and Felix. So Joy and Felix, they're kindred. So like they're connected like via each other's mind or whatever. So in their society, like someone of Felix's stature, he's a duke, should not be matched with a commoner like Joy, but they end up getting matched. So, and it's like, I guess it's painful to sever the connection, so they just let it, let it be. But in this society, a lot of people who are like kindreds to one another, they end up getting married. It's not always the case, but they're, like they've got a long or lifelong lasting like bond. So obviously they typically marry, but that's not always the case. So because Felix is a duke and Joy is a commoner, like they basically like they're super close, but basically each person knows that they're not supposed to get any closer than just friends. So anyway, so this whole thing happens where Felix's family is like assassinated. So then he is next in line. And then obviously someone's trying to kill him because they don't want him to be empowered. And he's kind of like, I don't want to call him a playboy, but he, he's just like free loving out here and living his best life. He's in a band. I know, really cute. And he doesn't take life seriously, which is, you know, par for the course for like royalty. Whereas Joy is obviously like a commoner, so she's poor, she has to work, she takes everything very seriously. There's clearly like an attraction between Joy and Felix, but obviously neither one well, Felix wants to act on it, Joy doesn't want to act on it for obvious reasons. It's not, something that's really accepted, different because they got different classes. Well, anyway, so because Felix is a target, he picks Joy up. Mind you, they've never met before. They only have like their like mind connection, So they they have to like run away from the person that's trying to kill Felix, and then also by extension kill Joy because they are kindreds. So they crash land here on Earth, and then like it's just they're trying to figure out, who assassinated his family, who's after them, and then they're trying to figure out ways to like one keep their secrets safe from you know the people of Earth and everything like that. And it's a lot, but it's so good. It's so good. Definitely read it. I don't want to like say too much about it because I feel like I'm gonna accidentally give out a spoiler, and I hate being that person that gives out spoilers. I know. So anyway, read that book, and then I feel like I talked about Lore by Alexandra Bracken on this channel before, so I won't go too much into detail about that one. Basically, it's this girl Lore, and every 7 years, there's like this thing called the Agan. So the nine gods that were they're like forced to walk the world as mortals for I want to say like 7 days or something like that. So basically, it's let me just read it. It says, long ago, Lore um, Perseus fled the brutal world in the wake of her family's sadistic murder by a rival line, turning her back on the hunt's promise of eternal glory. For years, she's pushed away any thought of revenge against the man, now a god, responsible for their deaths. Yet, as the hunt dawns over New York City, two participants seek her help: Castor, a childhood friend of Lore, believed long dead, and gravely wounded Athena, among the last of the original gods. The goddess offers an alliance against against their mutual enemy, and at last a way for Lore to leave the Agan behind forever. But Lore's decision to bind her fate to Athena's and rejoin the hunt will come at a deadly cost, and still may not be enough to stop the rise of a new god with the power to bring humanity to its knees. So lots of fantasy, mythology. It's obviously a young adult novel. Bit of a retelling too, and it was good. It was really good. And like I said, I feel like I talked about it on the channel before, so I don't want to go too much into detail about it, but obviously give it a read. But yeah, those were my standouts, and then obviously all my other reads for this year. So, yeah. So, thanks for watching.